Is your business relying on a Facebook page or a Google business profile as your only online platform? Did you know you could be missing out on huge opportunities just by adding a website in the mix? Welcome to another Solucru Talks. I'm Jonathan Sellers, CEO of Solucru, and I'm joined today with our Director of Digital Marketing, Seaton Tehart. Today, we're going to explain why we believe that it all starts with the website. At Solucru, we speak with lots of small business owners who have all different types of setups around the way they present their business online. One thing that we see regularly are businesses who've made a conscious decision to only have their business represented online using a Facebook page or Google business profile. And essentially that is the one path to find that business and verify that that business exists, and maybe to understand what their hours are, where they're located, things like this. And so we've been talking internally, and we thought it would be a good idea to explain, if you are in this situation, some of the opportunities you could be leaving on the table and some of the benefits of adding a website. And we know sometimes when you think about adding a website, you think immediately like, oh man, we're talking this huge amount of money that we have to come up with. And I just want to say right off the bat, that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about an investment of a huge website. We're talking about a website, period, right? Whatever that looks like, however you can source that website. Seaton, why don't you dive into, kind of what we think is really maybe the biggest one and the most important one?
I would say it comes down to trust. So it's relatively easy to create a Facebook page, a Google business profile. It doesn't establish as much trust. So a lot of people, we know this, it normally starts with a Google search. If I am familiar with a brand or I've heard of a brand, typically I want to be presented their website first and foremost, because that is usually your primary method of communication, and that's also the method most people use to verify, at least at face level, whether a business is legit or not. So I would say the very big one immediately that you get, or the box that you tick when you have a website, is you gain some form of trust, because it's an investment. People typically see a website as someone has invested some kind of money to create this face of their business, whereas Facebook's free.
I think one other thing is you have the web address or the URL, the domain address for that's related to your business. I think it just goes to show that you're taking these steps that people commonly expect.
Oh, absolutely. There's certain steps people usually expect when they do any kind of business dealing. And the website is normally one of the first things you expect to see. If you are looking for a business and you don't find a website, typically that's a red flag. So I would say that familiarity is a very important step in the process that people have come to expect when they do any kind of business dealings.
You now have this trustworthy presence. You can take that a step further, and then you can help people really understand who you are, what you're about, maybe parts of your story, why does your business exist, who is your business for, right? So these things. So I think it's the branding piece that's critical as well.
All these different platforms you could be utilizing to get your name out there, get your business out there, whether it's Google business profile, whether it's Facebook, whether it's some other social account, LinkedIn, you name it. They do have areas where you can explain a little bit about what your business is, but they do limit it. You are limited by the amount of characters you can use. Often you can't really convey the full story, and we do know this. A lot of people they resonate with company stories, and it's not just about whether this is a good business or whether it's a reputable brand that I've heard of from everyone. A website gives you the platform where you can, any page you need, you can expand on that website. You can add a page to give those educational pieces, to really comprehensively explain what you're about, what you do, and at your grassroots, where do you come from.
With that brandable piece, I think consumers have certain expectations for communication. And then I think as a business, like, you want to be able to grow your connections, and you want to have control of your customers as they become familiar with your business. And I think you do have this limited set of tools to do that without a website, right? So you could have people contacting you through Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp, or even Google Business Profile has a messenger. So you can have that, but it does leave you with limited ability to, for instance, collect emails, have a newsletter, send people specials, things like this.
I do want to expand on that. I think what you've really referenced there is the control. A lot of the times with these platforms, unless you have a dedicated online reputation manager, or somebody that's managing these platforms. Another thing, especially with small business, that happens is you could miss messages. Sometimes you don't get the notification. Sometimes you're just not sitting on Facebook at that moment, and you miss those notifications. And the control that a website gives you is you can dictate the path of that communication. And especially, it's normally a confirmation email you can receive, but there's various means you can do it. But the reality is it's a more formal business setting, so you always know where you are going to get that communication from. And that's typically why we suggest you want to avail yourself as a business. You want to open as many channels as you can for people to reach out to you and engage with you. But the reality is also dependent on your resources and the size of your business. Sometimes that's just not feasible. Sometimes that's not scalable, because there's so many platforms, so many avenues, so many things to monitor, that sometimes you actually need to streamline that. And sometimes it may just be, even though people may want to engage with you on Facebook, you may direct them and say, hey, the best way to reach out to us is by contacting us on the web, on our website, via our contact form. Or you may say, hey, the best way to get efficient communication from us is to phone us. Depending on what your preferred communication method is. Again, that control you have with the website, or being able to direct that into one central path of communication, and in a way that you know what to expect, and also give yourself a framework of how you can easily respond to that communication.
Yeah, and you hinted there about, just to jump into it, about like email autoresponders and things like that. In that auto responder email, you could provide a variety of information that people commonly are looking for, and obviously you have that on your website as well, but you can get that right into their inbox, and then you're in their inbox because now they've essentially signed up for you to be able to communicate with them in that channel. And so I do think that is a huge thing left on the table, which leads us to one thing that we would really say is a significant opportunity that you're leaving on the table without utilizing a website, is when you only have that Facebook page. Essentially, when you take Google search or Bing search or now AI search, right, and people are looking for what it is that your business offers, the type of food that you serve at your restaurant, the type of service that you perform for your customers. If they don't know your business name, essentially you do not exist, right? Because there's no path for a Facebook page to rank on Google unless there are literally no other competitors in your market. And that, I would say, is the biggest, in my opinion, missed opportunity. Is you're literally not even giving yourself a chance.
Yeah, and as you said, it's not that having the website immediately makes you rank. Now, I will admit, if you follow best practices, it could definitely help immediately. But ultimately, it's a platform. It's giving you the platform to expand and scale as you require. So what I mean by that is, because you've got a website, now you could implement like really advanced SEO if you wanted to. Again, we're not going to dive too deep in the technicality of that. So there is a massive gain to be had with that website and applying those SEO best practices to help you rank. A lot of local business, again, a Google business profile is vital, absolutely. And I do want to say, we are not saying you shouldn't have Facebook. You should have a Facebook page. You should have all the different social media accounts that make sense for your consumers. If they are on certain platforms, you need to be on those platforms. You need to be creating content and engaging with them on those platforms. So that's still an important step. But to ultimately have a more evergreen presence and help yourself scale, and especially when it comes to trying to attract new business, that is where your website shines. Because ultimately a Facebook page and things like Facebook pages, LinkedIn pages, all those different social media profiles, more often than not, they are community driven. And what I mean by that is, if you're a local business, the people in that locale, they are typically going to be the ones that are following you on Facebook, looking what you do, and they will typically be your repeat customers, which is great. But how do you expand beyond that? Word of mouth, absolutely. They might refer your business to other people, and that's how you get some new business. But that ultimately is not truly scalable. You cannot reach people at mass, and especially for search. Let's say it's a burger joint. If I am Googling best burger joint in, Chicago, if you do not have a website and you do not have SEO best practices in place, and as Jonathan said, if you may have a Google business profile, maybe you don't have reviews, you've got 2 reviews, and all your competitors have hundreds of reviews, you are not going to appear. You are going to be at the bottom of the barrel. So you really want a website that when someone does these kinds of searches, you are at least competing.
Yeah, exactly. So if you've stuck with us this long, you might be buying into this concept, right? If you're a business owner who has made this decision, sometimes we know people might have had a website in the past, and just a frustrating situation happened or whatever, and they've said, forget it, we're going to give up the website and we're going to just go with the Facebook page. If you're there, and if you're skeptical on the pricing, you're tired of the runaround, I guess you could say, in the past, just give us a call. Let's talk about it. We at Solucru, we have a variety of ways that we could help you solve this. We have some very affordable packages, for lack of a better way of describing them, that can get you a very nice professional custom website very, very affordably and in a very short period of time. So yeah, let's talk about it. Otherwise, like and subscribe, so you'll be notified whenever we post our next Solucru Talks, and we look forward to seeing you then.